Hello, thank you for taking time out. This video is on the Nakshatra of Dhanistha. Dhanistha is known to bestow worldwide fame on the native. I'll be sharing the reasons why shortly. So in the first part of the video, I'll be explaining the mythology linked to Dhanistha, and later I'll be going through how different planets behave in it. Dhanistha is jointly ruled by the Vasus. As per mythology, the Adityas are given the responsibility of the heavens by Lord Vishnu. I had briefly mentioned that whilst I was explaining the Nakshatra Shravana. The Rudras are known to be the atmospheric forces, and now the 8 Vasus have sovereignty over earthly affairs. The 8 Vasus are as follows. Dhruva. This is symbolic of the Dhanistha natives' resilience. Soma signifies maternal and nourishing side. Incidentally, if you recall, Lord Soma is ruling the Nakshatra of Mrigashira. So as I go further, you will realize that the Dhanistha native is going to be multi-talented, is going to have various qualities, and it's due to those various qualities the native would make a huge name in the society. Vayu, Lord Vayu is ruling the Nakshatra Swati, and now the Dhanistha native would be known to have this quality of keep moving on, effortlessly breezing through issues in life, keep marching ahead. This can even lead to the native being an explorer of some kind. And now Lord Agni, he is known to be the leader of the Vasus, and he bestows on the native wisdom to understand what is proper action and what is improper action. And then Goddess Apa, she's ruling the Nakshatra Purvashadha. She bestows on the native the power of intellect to purify things, to see things as they are, to use one's intellect to make better decisions. And now Lord Akasha, he bestows on the native this aspiration, the desire to do something substantial. God Aditya is also one of the Vasus, and this could lead to the native being an inspiration to others in the society. And lastly, Prithvi. This could lead to the native having that groundedness. So despite various qualities the native would have, the native would largely remain modest. So resilience, maternal and nourishing side, the ability to keep marching on, divine wisdom, analytical ability, ambition, groundedness, and the native would be an inspiration. Those are the qualities a Dhanistha native is likely to possess. So immediately I'd like to share a few examples of individuals who have worldwide fame. Barack Obama, he has his rising nakshatra as Dhanistha. Abraham Lincoln had Sun in Dhanistha. Marie Curie, I'm taking an example from the scientific community. She has Jupiter in Dhanistha. The ex-queen of the United Kingdom, Queen Elizabeth, she has both Mars and Jupiter in Dhanistha. And lastly, Narendra Modi has Jupiter in Dhanistha. Jupiter in Dhanistha specifically, in my view, leads to worldwide fame, massive fame. The native would end up doing things for the very first time. Barack Obama is a prime example. The first African American to be chosen as the president, elected as a president, I should say. And the native would be the best at doing what one is doing. And that leads me to Mars. Mars is the planet ruling Dhanistha. Incidentally, Mars is also exalted in this section of the sky. This is the only nakshatra where the ruling planet is also exalted in that nakshatra. The ruling planet and the planet which is exalted in a particular nakshatra is the same planet, Mars. So the native would have all the Martian qualities. Unparalleled technical expertise. The native would be an innovator, would be known for one's original work. Besides that, the native would be full of passion, very determined, would have that fighting spirit, and Mars is excellent at commanding people. So all these qualities would be seen in the Dhanistha native. If we go back to technical expertise, the native would be the best in one's field. Have a look at these examples. Michael Jordan, he has Sun in Dhanistha, best in his field. Muhammad Ali has Venus in Dhanistha in the 7th house, a sign of massive fame. Bob Marley, he has Sun in Dhanistha, and I'll also go back to this a bit later. Dhanistha is also to do with a good sense of rhythm. But let's carry on with these examples. Bob Marley, best in his field, that's what I'm trying to highlight. Thomas Edison, the inventor, has Sun in Dhanistha. Elvis Presley had Saturn in Dhanistha. Marilyn Monroe, not only from a scientific or sports background, I'm also now sharing examples from the entertainment sector. She has Jupiter in Dhanistha. Audrey Hepburn has Rising as Dhanistha. Michael Schumacher has Venus in Dhanistha, best in his field. A more recent example, LeBron James has Venus in Dhanistha too. The examples itself illustrate what Dhanistha is all about. Doing one's job so well that you are known for your skills, your talent. Let's go back to these Martian qualities, which can be extended to the entire engineering sector. The native could be excellent at building things. In sports, the native would inherently possess a sense of rhythm that is strongly linked to Dhanistha. Like sprinting, when you see a sprinter, it's all about rhythm. A swimmer, it's all about rhythm. And that rhythm not necessarily has to be applied to physical activity. It can also be in music. I had earlier shared the example of Bob Marley, who had Sun in Dhanistha. So this sense of rhythm, sense of timing is also strongly linked to Dhanistha. Football is another example. A footballer needs to have the sense of timing. Everything happens so quickly. So that sense of timing, sense of rhythm, and being highly skillful at one's job would be associated with the Dhanistha native. See, whilst I was going through the list of famous people and the reason behind their fame, I find Dhanistha's significant association with their chart. Alongside Ashlesha, that's another nakshatra signifying fame, and Jyeshtha. These three nakshatras stood out. Since the Dhanistha native would be the best in one's field, would be well known for that reason, a diamond is considered as one of the main symbols of this nakshatra, and therefore the native could be like a shining star in the society. And due to one's Martian qualities, this courage and determination, never dying attitude, the native can even be seen as a superhero of some kind. The Vasus are also known for their generosity, and therefore the Dhanistha native would be known for one's large-heartedness, going out of one's way to help people. Let's see how this nakshatra is classified. Firstly, it belongs to the caste of a farmer, which is the same caste belonging to an artist. And here, artistry, in my view, would lie in building things to exacting detail and doing one's job so perfectly that it turns out to be a piece of art, like building furniture. I was watching one of those videos from carpenters from Japan. They build the furniture without inserting any nails at any of the joints. The artistry of their joints is such that the furniture stays together. Pieces of wood stays together. Such artistry, I believe, is the reason behind this classification. Furthermore, this nakshatra belongs to the native Chara, which translates to movable. This is symbolic of the Dhanistha native's desire for exploration. If you recall, one of the Vasus is Lord Vayu, the god of wind, and goddess Apa, the goddess of the water element. Both of them signify the native would be on the go, always on the go. The native would continually want to explore and become better. Now, the temperament that belongs to Dhanistha is of Rakshasa, which translates to a demonic temperament, and that is largely due to Martian energy. Even though Mars is excellent at fighting battles, Mars is always known to act impulsively and go to the extreme. So therefore, when challenged, the native could respond aggressively. Similarly, the quality of this nakshatra is tamasic darkness. See, Mars is excellent at accomplishing things, completing projects, building something extraordinary. However, Mars-like person would always need guidance. You can always build something which isn't very helpful for the society, like the discovery of the atom bomb. The native can continue to chase a goal which isn't good for the native. Again, this is linked to Martian nature, and therefore the guna of tamasic, darkness. So even though the Dhanistha native has many qualities, the Dhanistha native would need proper guidance. If you go back to all the Vasus, you'll see all 5 elements visible there. The god of fire, Lord Agni, is ruling it. The god of wind, Lord Vayu, is also one of the Vasus. The water element is represented by goddess Apa. Lord Dhruva and Prithvi are representing the earth element, and Akasha is representing the sky, space. So the all 5 elements are represented by the Vasus, which also explain why they have sovereignty over earthly affairs. So if you have your rising as Dhanistha, there's every chance of you attracting fame, and there's also every chance of you being the best at what you do. A lot would depend on the position of Mars and also on Saturn. See, Dhanistha falls in the sign of Capricorn and in the sign of Aquarius. Both of them are ruled by Saturn. So Mars and Saturn's position would determine where lies your expertise. What are you going to be famous for? Generally, you're going to be someone courageous and disciplined in life. Discipline comes due to the Saturn's influence, particularly if Dhanistha falls in the sign of Capricorn. In the sign of Aquarius, I think your personality would be more unique, something unconventional about you. You might even be an outcast. A lot would also depend on in which sign does Dhanistha fall in the Navamsha, and those would be the sign of Leo, Virgo, Libra and Scorpio. So if it's the sign of Leo, I think you'll shine through, your personality would shine through. You may also find yourself occupying a position of a leader in the society of some kind. So the examples I had shared earlier linked to leadership, like Queen Elizabeth, Narendra Modi, Abraham Lincoln, Barack Obama. Such personalities could have their Dhanistha falling in the first pada, which falls in the sign of Leo, as now Sun is also having a say, and Sun represents public leadership. If it's the sign of Virgo, the service-oriented side of Dhanistha would be more visible. As I pointed out to you, the Vasus are known for their generosity, so the native would be more inclined to serve the society somehow. One's personality would also have shades of Mercury, intelligence, analytical ability. If it's the sign of Libra, then fame would follow you. Libra is ruled by Venus. Venus is symbolic of fame. Someone who possesses a very attractive personality, a magnetic appeal. And if it's the sign of Scorpio, this Martian side would be more visible. The native would be highly competitive. In addition to being the best in one's field, the native would leave no stone unturned to accomplish one's task, to win a battle. This Tamasic and Rakshasa side linked to Dhanistha possibly would be most visible in the 4th pada, which falls in the sign of Scorpio ruled by Mars. So a lot would depend on various factors, but studying a planet's position in Dhanistha is an excellent start, so let's do that. So if you have your moon in Dhanistha, I think you'll naturally draw attention towards you. I think fame might be part of your life. Moon is considered to be royalty, and Dhanistha, as I have been saying, is all about fame. And I have also come across birth charts of people who are well known, who had moon in Dhanistha. So that's the first thing. And secondly, the softer side of Dhanistha, which has to do with large-heartedness, helping people, giving things away, serving the society, would be more visible in your character. Someone doesn't have money to pay for one's children's education, you'd step in. So a kinder, sensitive side of Dhanistha would be visible. See, we must not forget this nakshatra has a Rakshasa temperament, a demonic temperament, and therefore the native would have this impulsive side, particularly when one's position or one's talent is challenged. The native would go all out to prove the other person to be wrong, or to prove oneself to be better. So the native may react aggressively, and in the process the native might go to the extreme, and that's the tamasic quality linked to Dhanistha, which might be visible in your character. The artistic side of Dhanistha would be expressed through your thinking. Perhaps you may have creative ideas. You know how to solve problems creatively with new way of thinking. You'd know how to build things from scratch. And altogether I think you'll have a very resilient mind, not willing to give up. So overall I find this position to be a strong position, other than lack of maturity at times, which is always linked to Mars, and Moon and Mars don't share a great relationship. Other than that, this is a strong position. Just like Moon, I think Sun in Dhanistha also firstly signifies fame. Both Sun and Moon are part of royalty amongst the planetary kingdom. They are royalty. Moon is the queen, Sun is the king. Sun Dhanistha belongs to someone who will attract a lot of attention in the society. Abraham Lincoln in his chart had Sun in Dhanistha. He's a prime example. So attracting attention for one's leadership qualities. Sun signifies leadership. Your leadership style would be inspirational, and your leadership style would also be leading by example. So you're not only sitting back and letting others take on the project, you yourself take the first step, and you may end up accomplishing things which have never been done before. That is strongly linked to Dhanistha. I think this combination would lead to you having a following. You know, people would want to be like you, as they've seen you do things a certain way, and they want to do things the same way as you. They want to follow not only what you've accomplished, they also want to follow the process you have followed in your life. The native would also remain very determined, very consistent in one's efforts to finish, lead the project, the task one has undertaken. One of the major downsides with this position is ego battles, and that's the right way to explain it. Mars is known for this competitiveness, Dhanistha's planetary ruler Mars, and Sun is known to not accept anyone else's authority. So a Sun Dhanistha-like person, when asked to follow someone's lead, the native would feel, you know what, I can do much better. The native would continually challenge the supervising officer, manager, the management team. I can do better. This can be done better. There are inefficiencies here. There are inefficiencies there. The native would question the leadership style of one's own leader. So the native wouldn't be a follower in any way, and that is what the native would struggle with the most. Other than that, I think the native would be an inspiration for others. Others would want to be like the native. It's a strong position, particularly as I find Sun and Mars sharing an excellent relationship. And earlier I mentioned ego battles. This nakshatra, we must not forget, falls in the sign ruled by Saturn, and Sun and Saturn don't share a great relationship. So by understanding the friendships planets have with one another, you can then interpret a planet's position in a particular nakshatra. When Mercury is in Dhanistha, think you'd attract attention for your analytical and logical ability firstly, I think you would be known to solve complicated problems with innovative thinking, new ideas. That we can do this would reduce friction levels in car design. Alongside this, I think you'll also be popular for your public speaking ability, your storytelling quality. Your style of conversation, however, would be direct, to the point, straightforward. You'd be proving something, that you know what, if we do this, then our margins are going to rise. So conversations are always going to be competitive. You'd always be fond of getting into an argument and proving your point. I even see barristers having this combination, Mercury Dhanistha. This sense of timing that I had strongly linked Dhanistha with would be seen in your character in some ways, particularly if you do something in the business domain. You'd have this sense of timing that if we launch this product during this time, there's a higher chance of success. I see marketing strategists having Mercury in Dhanistha, all professions centered around predicting the future. Financial analysts, for example. Dhanistha, you must not also forget, is strongly linked to the money sector, as Dhanistha signifies not only fame but also money. Or you can say, if you are well known, you naturally monetize your fame somehow. People want to be associated with you, and that leads to money, wealth creation. So the native can even be a wealth advisor, a financial analyst. One of the major downsides to this position is the excessive argumentative nature the native might have. Dhanistha belongs to the temperament belonging to a demonic force, and both Mercury and Mars are quick to jump in, to get into an argument, to prove one's point. And this excessive argumentative nature can even lead to you proving something which is not worth proving, or fighting a cause which isn't worth fighting for. Or you may get into frivolous arguments unnecessarily. The native would be very restless to achieve excellence in whatever one is doing. Those are a few downsides to this position. A Venus Dhanistha-like person would attract fame naturally. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. And secondly, the native can have a future in design, building something craftfully, artistically, technically, like building a beautiful house. It's not only about having design ideas of what materials and what colors are you going to use. It's also about putting everything together. A career in architecture is possible with Venus in Dhanistha. The native could also have a sound understanding of money. We often hear about terms like sound investment. I think the native would understand that very well. This position can lead to a future in risk management, as the native would inherently have a sense of timing and also a sense of risks associated with one's investments. We must not forget this nakshatra falls entirely in the signs ruled by Saturn. Venus-Saturn's association somehow leads to a future in risk management. When it comes to love, the native may attract someone who's well known. Particularly in a man's chart, this can lead to that. In a woman's chart, this can lead to fame, excessive fame, for one's qualities like fine speaking or intelligence. The native may have a very attractive personality, and so the native may attract a following due to that. Venus signifies enjoying life, particularly on a material plane, and Dhanistha signifies wealth and fame. So the native may have a good life. The native may get to experience things in life, like going on a luxurious holiday, enjoying the best of food, the best of music, the best of company, seeing the best of things, the most scenic of things in the world. So in many ways, a Venus Dhanistha-like person can be very blessed. The major downside is getting excessively driven by materialistic pleasures, and that leading to the native experiencing joy on a material plane, fulfilling one's desire as the main purpose, and that leading the native to darkness, which is the tamasic quality linked to Dhanistha. All pleasures on a material plane are short-lived. The native may lack that wisdom. The native might be too driven to experience life, and that would be one of the main downsides to this position. When Mars is in Dhanistha, you get to experience the best of Dhanistha. The native would be excellent at everything one does. Excellence is strongly linked to Dhanistha and is strongly linked to Mars. So whether the native is building something, so the entire engineering sector is linked to Dhanistha and Mars, the native would be the best at one's job. If the native is in sports, the native would be the best in one's field. The native is in politics or in law, the native would make a strong case for one's abilities. The native would be the best and would want to be the best, and the native would strive very hard to be the best. So not only would the native have this desire to be the best, the native would also be willing to toil hard to achieve that level of excellence. Why? Here, Mars and Saturn are coming together. In addition to this, I think the native would be very risk inclined, would be very entrepreneurial, would be known for one's innovative, original work, building something so beautiful that the end result is as beautiful as the process of creation. Earlier I shared the example of those furniture makers from Japan who build a furniture without nailing any joints. So everything comes together beautifully and you can completely dismantle it for transportation. A high-speed car, for example, if you come across one on the streets, it's a beautiful creation of engineering, and a Mars Dhanistha-like person can be behind it. In every physical activity, I think the native would have a sense of timing. Like people naturally have a rhythm. Sprinters, footballers, basketball players, cricketers, they all need a sense of timing. When what has to be done. And not only this, I think even on a battlefield, a real battlefield, as a soldier, the native would be an inspiration. The native would be known for one's never say die attitude. And the native would also have the ability to rally people around oneself. The native would be so popular for one's courage that others might follow the native. I think the native would make an excellent military commander. The major downsides are always going to be going to the extreme and reacting aggressively and impulsively, particularly when challenged. That is the demonic temperament and the tamasic quality, the darkness associated with this nakshatra and also associated with Mars. So the native would be very uncompromising. Once the native has decided on a path, the native would keep marching on, keep fighting, losing sight of why one is fighting in the first place. So those are a few downsides. Altogether, I feel a Mars Dhanistha-like person is someone to watch out for. That person is capable of something extraordinary. That's my view. When Jupiter is in Dhanistha, the first thing, as I mentioned earlier, is massive fame. Of all the planets in Dhanistha, I think Jupiter Dhanistha can lead to massive fame, more fame than any other planet. I had earlier shared a few examples too. The Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has gained worldwide popularity. In his chart I find Jupiter in Dhanistha. The ex-Queen of United Kingdom, Queen Elizabeth, in her chart too, Jupiter Dhanistha. Marilyn Monroe from the entertainment sector, Jupiter Dhanistha. So if you find Jupiter in Dhanistha, the chances of you attracting fame are very high. Now, interestingly, I had mentioned whilst describing Dhanistha to you that the native may lack direction, as Dhanistha has the guna of Tamasic darkness and the temperament belonging to a demonic force. However, when Jupiter is in Dhanistha, the native, in my view, finds that direction. The native knows what to work towards. What is the native fighting for? The native has the wisdom, the understanding. So the native's pursuit of excellence isn't directionless when Jupiter is there. The native, I think, would have a great understanding of the rhythm involved in everything, that natural sense of timing, that at this time this must be done, at that time that is important. The native can be a sports instructor, a sports coach, knowing when to substitute a football player, when to strike, when to change the formation, that sense of timing, when to change the strategy. The native would be known for that. The native could even have a future in art direction depending on where Mars is placed. If Mars, for example, falls in the sign of Revati, the native can have a future in art direction, or even yoga teaching. Yoga teachers also rely heavily on timing, that you have to do this posture for these many seconds, you take a break for a few seconds and then you change it. Everything is rhythmic. The native can even understand the rhythm of the universe, and that can even lead to a future in astrology where you're trying to understand how planetary positions, which are changing with time, may have an impact on someone's life. So this reading of the dashas, which is behind predicting life events, a Jupiter Dhanistha-like person can understand what's taking place. So any profession centered around predicting the future, the native would be excellent at that. The native could even become spiritually very inclined and can become an expert in educating others on the art of living, for example. You know, you must dedicate these many hours for sleep, you must wake up at a certain time, you must do important activities during the day. Such kind of guidance, such philosophical way of life, a Jupiter Dhanistha-like native can be behind it. The native would have plenty of opportunity in one's life to travel extensively. Dhanistha belongs to the nature of Chara, and Jupiter signifies foreign travel. So that opportunity would be in abundance. And lastly, and most importantly, I believe, everything the native would do, I think there would be a purpose to it, a higher philosophical purpose. The native would try to find reasons why this is important. What do we stand to gain by achieving this? Something on those lines. So you're not only living your life by emotion, you're not reacting to circumstances, you're actually thinking, this has to be done for this reason. And that's going to be one of the greatest qualities the native would possess. And given the strong relationship Jupiter shares with Mars, it also shares a good relationship with Saturn. This position, Jupiter in Dhanistha, is a very strong position in my view. When Saturn is in Dhanistha, I think you'll be renowned for your technical ability. Whatever you do, you'll be a master technician. If Saturn is in Dhanistha in one of your career-related houses, your future can be in engineering of any kind, building something with exacting precision. You'd also be known for your resilience, this never give up attitude. In addition to you being extremely disciplined, life would be such that you learn how to work hard. The large-heartedness, the service-oriented side of Dhanistha would also be seen in your character. I think you'd be very willing to offer help, and whatever project or task or goal you undertake, you'd have a more traditional, conservative approach, like becoming an expert in an ancient method of some kind of building furniture, something that has been going on for many generations and now you've picked it up or you've continued the tradition. So this association with the past, this association with ancient techniques of some kind could also be part of your work. The greatest quality, I believe, would be your never give up attitude, courage till the last breath. That is Saturn Dhanistha for you. The major downsides are linked to the tamasic quality. The native might be so absorbed in one's work that the native may forget other duties. The native might be so focused to achieve something substantial that the native would forget other responsibilities. That would remain one of the main downsides to this position. Other than that, once the native has gained mastery over something, it would be difficult to find someone as much of an expert as the native. Such would be the expertise of the native. That's my view. When Rahu is in Dhanistha, I think it's a case where the native may desire fame. In many ways, I feel this combination leads to the native desiring fame in one's past life, and therefore this life is now granted to the native to experience it. I think wherever Rahu is placed, it somehow has to do with our leftover desires from past life. It's just my personal opinion. So desire for fame could be very strong, and the native can then pursue that aggressively, passionately. But there's every chance of the native going to the extreme, searching for shortcuts, gaining popularity for something the native hasn't achieved or done, or even usurping someone's fame. Those shortcuts are linked to Rahu, so the native would need proper guidance in life. The native would be very fond of travel, exploration. The other downside I'm seeing, apart from the native searching for shortcuts, is impulsive behavior. Something the native feels inspired by, the native would instantly invest one's time and energy on it. You know what, if I invest in bitcoins, I can start making good money in 6 months' time. So the native would instantly jump on the idea linked to wealth creation of fame. That can be behind the native's downfall in many ways. The native could even fall prey to addictions. The greatest upside to this position would be the native's innovative ability. The native would be known for one's originality. The native can be behind scientific inventions of some kind. Many downsides, a few upsides. Altogether, I think a Rahu Dhanistha-like person would need proper guidance to know which goals to go after. That's my view. A Ketu Dhanistha-like person, firstly, I think, is a case where the native has experienced fame in one's past life and now is finding oneself in a position where the native isn't very inspired to make a name for oneself. So every time there's an opportunity, a photo opportunity to get photographed with someone famous, the native is like, you know what, I am not feeling very inspired. And in one's work too, the native may feel less inspired to take credit for one's work. So in many ways, the native might run away from the idea of fame. Furthermore, I think the native would possess an inherent skill, a talent for something. The native can be behind extraordinary work. However, the native would stay away from taking credit for it. This position can lead to the native being an excellent planner. Ketu is known for strategic planning, piercing logic, planning in stealth, whereas Mars is a fighter. This position can even lead to the native being a spy, a soldier who's planning a strategy. In sports, you always need a planner, someone who's deciding what needs to be done. So those clever tactics, which are very helpful on a football field, in hockey, in cricket, etc., those clever tactics, a Ketu Dhanistha-like person can be behind such tactics. The native may have a special quality from the very beginning. The native might say, you know what, I always had this quality of building these beautiful castles made from paper. I always knew how to work with hand tools. I was always excellent at carpentry. So the native may have some inherent natural ability, technical and mechanical in nature, in some ways. Like Rahu, with Ketu too, the native can fall prey to addictions, and the native can go to the extreme in accomplishing one's task. One of the downsides to this position would be the native isolating oneself from the society, for example, to work on one's task. Like in an office, you always find one person who's having a big set of headphones and is sitting in a corner, completely detached from the outside world, working on one's work, working on a complicated Excel sheet, for example. So Ketu Dhanistha-like person may have that kind of a personality where the native remains detached from unnecessary attention or attention of any kind. So I find Ketu Dhanistha to be a stronger position than Rahu Dhanistha. Thank you for watching this video till the very end. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments section. And if you'd like to stay in touch, please subscribe to this channel. Thanks again for watching. Bye for now.